You still have their names on your tongue. You acknowledge them, you let them know that they still matter. And that is what Coco Nyamili, Nyamili, Coco Nyamili, Nyamili, Coco Nyamili, Nyamili, Coco Nyamili, Nyamili, Ibole, Ibole, Ibobono, Ndamamihe, Ibole, Ibole, Ibobono, Ndamamihe, Ebulanyelu, 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 Anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konyo seke Anamabara no n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye seke Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike Coco Nyamini, Nyamini, Coco Nyamini. Ndewo, good morning to another episode of Chiism Live. Before we go any further, let me just invite Chineke in by singing, well, not me personally singing, but playing this video. Obidimma to Chineke. And after which we will come back in and start having our conversations for the day. Nsọ chukwu ka na-abata bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike anya bịa wisọpụrụ gị ugbu a bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka na-akpọ gị bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike ụmụeliwayi kọta n'otu bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike ka anyị jikọfe ya ofufe godian bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike Godianism bụ ịhụnanya n'udo bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike butere anyị ụzọ kpetara anyị azụ bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike bịa o bịakwute ya bịa o bịakwute ya bịakwute ya bịa zuru. Actually, the song is Bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike, not Obidimma, as I stated earlier. But welcome Ndewo to the Niledri Chineke. Here we are. Thank you, Chineke, for this wonderful opportunity that we call today. And so let us hope that we have the wisdom to move our minds and our bodies in the perfecting presence of God. Remember, right where we are, Chineke is in the midst of us right now at this moment, creating divine order through divine love. Today, Chineke says to us, fear not, for I am with you. I'm no. So we have the power, the holy power of Chineke to walk in holy boldness today. So salutations to Chineke and salutations to the ancestors. And before we go any further, for libations, let me take this moment and welcome my co-host, Dibia UD Ochoaja. Dibia Ndewo.
Okay, Dibias, Kawo, Yagazie.
Imare.
No, every day above ground is a good day.
It's a good
There's
day.
a lot of craziness in the world, and
A good day.
of course, not to my surprise, I woke up this morning because I trusted that Chineke, will see me through the night. So here we
And
are
you
on
give
the
thanks.
day, and it's going to be a good day. And blessings out to everybody out there. Yagazie.
Yagazie. It's a bit rainy, but it's not
Yeah,
part of what life is about. You take the good, you take the bad, and together you have miracles. Together, when you put it
absolutely.
together, that's what life is all about. So thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
yes,
Judy, I just had this sense that we've got to pour libations. We have to start
yes.
day to day with libations because there are just so much ugliness going on in our world. But I
So
want to
much.
focus. I want to focus on what we continue. And I have to say that if we're not putting Chineke first, if we're not
Yes.
acknowledging Chineke, then it's difficult to acknowledge our fellow human beings because where they are the where the spirit resides, our fellow human beings. So when we do things that kill them, you know,
Yeah.
then what a tragedy that is. So I want to pour libations and ask for Chineke's intervention for the Sudan. You say
You say,
what they are going through right now is so difficult. Many have lost their lives, and it's not even a war that the civilians asked for. It is what other people who come into who have an interest in Sudan have initiated, and now lives are being lost. Unfortunately, the lives of the Sudanese. Chineke, please intervene. You say.
you
We
say,
ask for the intervention of Chineke and the ancestors for those Nigerians who are trapped in the Egyptian border and they are
you
not
say.
able to come out because the Egyptian government is no longer allowing people to leave, he said. And then we want to ask, put in the hearts of our leaders in Nigeria to understand this is their responsibility. This is their responsibility. Chineke, please let them know that one child who dies from this debacle is their responsibility. One woman who dies in this debacle is their responsibility. One man who dies in this debacle is their responsibility. That we gave money to bring them out, but we didn't do so. Many of them are now starving. Many of them are dying. They're fainting. They're stuck in buses that the Egyptian government will not let them to. Chineke, this is your people. These are your people. We need your intervention. Open the hearts of the leaders so they understand this is not a political thing. This is a humanitarian thing. Put it in their hearts to understand that these are your children and they deserve passage out of danger. Somebody say, please,
You
Chineke, we
say,
ask, please make sure that everybody who wants to get out gets out. Please don't allow them to be trapped. Please don't allow other people to benefit from the misery of our people. Chineke, we know this is intentional.
you
We
say.
know that this is not a happenstance. Even though we're blaming the Africans for initiating the wars, we know that there are outside forces playing a role. Chineke, please put a stop to this. How could you do that, Ogwabu Chineke? Ogwamihigem? We don't know. We're only putting it at your feet. We're asking for your intervention. Chineke, please. This is the time for you to show the world that you are in charge. Put a stop to this madness. Because we know that the warplanes and all the heavy military artillery. We are not producing that in the Sudan. It's coming from somewhere. So, let the truth be told. Free our people, save them from the madness that has befallen them on the continent of Africa. And the fear there is that it's not going to end there. Where there's an interest of the outside world, it just keeps going in further and further into Africa. Chineke, it's about time that our people wake up to see that they are responsible for building up their own people, keeping their people safe, getting them out of the harm's way, refusing to accept any agreements with anybody whose purpose is not for the good of our people. Put love in the hearts of our leaders, please, Chineke. put love in their hearts. Let them understand that we are expecting them to do to save us, if I may use that expression. We ask all the ancestors to intervene as well. We know that these are your children, and you have a responsibility to put your loving arms, to be above them, below them, underneath them, reach out to them, comfort them, take them home, those who want to go home, get our Nigerian people back home, get all the Americans out. And they said the Americans are all out. The people who are stuck are the Nigerians, and mostly the Africans, but mostly Nigerians. So that's the tragedy of our leadership. But Chineke, we know you're in power. We know you have the power to make things happen. But you have to put it in the hearts of these leaders to see our people as meaningful, the lives of our people as meaningful and necessary to be saved. Somebody say, Ise. Or four, and I take some of that word and spread it around, and anything negative around me, make it leave my space. And so this moment, welcome those who have joined us this morning. Ukunna Charles, thank you. Ukunna Charles, thank you for joining us. We're always pleased to have you here. And there are individuals joining us from ChiismLive on Facebook, and Igbo African Spirituality on YouTube. So welcome to all of you. And now let me welcome Queen. How are you? Welcome.
Hello, Dibias Simona. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How you doing?
Very good.
All right.
How are you?
Nice.
Very good.
I see that you are still walking amongst the living. Isn't that a blessing?
Yes, it is absolutely a blessing to be walking amongst the living. And yes. I thank my spiritual leaders here, Your Excellency Dibia Ua and Dibia Yudi. And I thank you for the knowledge that you are bringing forth. And it is great knowledge, and also all of those who are suffering. I ask Chineke to help those who are suffering to end their suffering out there in the world. And I just want to thank Chineke for today, and also the ancestors, my ancestors and your ancestors both, for allowing us to bring forth this program for the liberation of the African mind, and also the advancement of those who people's path and their spirituality, and getting closer relationship to Chineke and the ancestors.
And that outfit is banging.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it's nice.
Thank you.
So let us begin by just doing a little bit of what I call rehashing. Let's remember that in the last 4 weeks, we have discussed 4 ancestral spiritual healing. Day 1 was Ijiko, connecting, understanding who are the ancestors, who they were, and when they had breath, what languages they spoke. I don't know how many of you went into that research, because it's very important to know the ancestors that you're calling. You just don't want to call anybody in. You want to know those individuals that you particularly you're interested in calling and bringing to your space. You want to know who they are. And then day 2, we talked about ikente, listening, to listen, committing to making, to respecting our ancestors by bringing them in and listening and hearing. And to do that, you have to listen inwardly. And then day 3, we talked about mbalara, reconciliation, committing to making things right for our ancestors, not ignoring necessarily, but forgiving them for whatever they may have done in the past, so that we don't carry that forward, and also carry that forward to our members. And then the 4, of course, was Nkazi, to hold together, evaluate all those things that are important to us and make sure that they manifest into reality. It is my hope, actually, that you practice them. If not, please go back to the video and reevaluate those days that we talked about these things, and add them to the host of things that and other activities that you'll be doing in this upcoming month. And if you have any more, you need more information about them, please don't hesitate to call me. Today, we are going to discuss Egwu, Odida, Odida. You mean, for those of you who are trying to learn the language, Egwu, E-G-W-U, Odida, O-D-I-D-A. The fear of failing. The fear of failing. This is ojo, ito ojo, the fear. Egwu, ito egwu. Us, we say ito ojo. You know, when you say right where I am, Chineke is, then why are you fearful? It doesn't mean that right where you are, Chineke is, doesn't mean that you're not going to be tripped. You're not going to trip up and fall and fail sometimes. But once you realize mentally that I walk with Chineke, that means you understand that you have power. You know, now the reason why many of us are discouraged easily, you know, is due to the fear of failing, not understanding that failure is all part of growth. It's all part of living. Every successful person, and you can count all of them. You can contact any rich person, any great leader, anybody. They will let you know about Odida, about falling as part of their repertoire. It is all part of life. But the problem is that we don't know it and we don't understand our power even in the middle of Odida. Let me turn off this phone. In the middle of failure. When you fall, get up. Have you ever watched a child fall? They always get up. The parents don't want them to stay there. Sometimes a parent will turn away and just let the child, so you fell, get up. That's what you're supposed to do. Also, there's an example of what happens when fear overruns us. They show these children that they were made to walk on glass. And this glass underneath, they can see the skyscrapers, the earth, they can see the cars and everything. And it looks absolutely scary. So some of the children, well, actually, most of the children will not go across that glass. Most of them will not go across the glass because of fear of falling down to what they see. But it took that one little child to see the fact that my mom and dad were able to cross this glass and they didn't fall. Why should I be afraid? So he got up and he chased after his parents, while the other ones were stuck at the end of the glass, fearful because they're afraid to fall. For us as adults, that happens to us, but in a different form. Something difficult happens and then we're just afraid to move forward. It may seem right now that something that has happened, something that has happened to you is a frightening thing. You may feel that it's totally unacceptable. It's not fair. And why did it happen to you? You don't think you deserve any such thing. And as far as you're concerned, the people who did this to you, they're not human. They're just wicked, wicked people. And being human, you have this urge to do something about it. You get angry. You're hurt and you may become very afraid. And that's just the key, to be afraid. So it happened. So what? That's just the point. Because you truly don't know why this had to happen to somebody like you. Because after all, why should it happen? You're such a good person. So as much as you have the right to feel bad, my brothers and sisters, I tell you that as much as you have the right to feel the way you do because of the emotions that this has caused you, what is wrong is that you don't feel that you can do something about it, and then you become a victim. You become a victim. Why do I say that? Why do you become a victim? There's nothing that happens to you passively. Understand that. Believe it or not, we are all a part of that experience. We have something to do with it because it is up to us how we respond to it. That's what I mean by victimhood. It is not that it happened. It's now that you wallow in it. You feel that you're weak, you're helpless. There's nothing you can do about it. Get it committed. Sometimes we just decide, we're not going to do any more because we're fearful. It's going to happen again after all, you think. So you become stuck in this why me mode. Gini kamere. What did I do to deserve this? So you stay there. The question that life always never fails to throw back at us is this: why not you? Who deserves it more than you? If it shouldn't happen to you, then it shouldn't happen to somebody else. Why do you think it should happen to you? It should happen to somebody else and not you. So if you begin to find yourself wallowing in self-pity, in the I can't help myself mode, then you are available. You are available for it to happen to you over and over and over. When you begin to fear trying, you fall into that Egwu ọdịda mode. Fear of failure. We're all going to fail. And I'm learning as I get older that it's a good thing. When I write grants and they say no to me, I don't give up and say, I've gotten so many no's writing grants. But the one thing I always ask is, what did I do wrong so that I don't do it again? And I'm realizing it is not in the failure that we have a problem. It's staying there. It's becoming victims. It's becoming unable to move forward, to go beyond your condition and blame. You're stuck. See, when you become a victim of whatever has happened to you, that victimhood enables it to happen again. And it will. It constantly. Look at everybody who has failed and stayed there. They never move forward. That should not be your destiny. That mustn't be your destiny. Remember that when what is happening in your life doesn't have to blossom. It doesn't have to blossom because you're thinking in a different way. You're responding in a very different way. You're responding in a very positive way. Ndidi. My people say, Ndidi keje sowa. Ndidi keje sowa. You follow life with patience. You manage life with patience. I'm not suggesting that what may have happened to you has no spiritual or physical impact on you. Of course it does. You're human. But I'm just suggesting that you should ignore how you feel about. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't feel bad about what has happened. But you don't now have to become afraid to move forward. You don't know how to say, oh, they're after me. Somebody's trying to do something to me, and I don't want them to do it anymore, so I'll run. It's good not to be the victim and take responsibility. Not being a victim and taking responsibility means that you can feel all these emotions that you want to feel. It's okay. The shock to your senses, the pain that you feel on your skin, in your mind, wherever. But it's important to see what lesson you get from it and keep on moving in a way that honors who you really are. Remember, monachiso. That is our spirituality. Monachiso. I am one with the Creator. And if I am one with the Creator, what am I afraid of? Chineke is only saying to me, okay, this is the journey. I want you to see. I want to see everything that's going to happen to you. If you agree that you're going to do something, that you're going to move past this, Chineke and the universe and the ancestors will pick you up, hold you up, and make you walk in holy boldness. Because you know what? It's all life. I thank God, when people don't want to be older, when people keep lying about their age, when people keep saying, oh, I don't want to go or do crazy things to themselves, I embrace age. I embrace it because age gives you the impetus to say, so what? So what? I pick my battles now. I don't fight over everything. I used to when I was younger. Oh my God, don't piss me off, excuse the expression, because I'm coming after you. But not anymore. I have to evaluate how important is this thing. What does it do to my well-being? What does it do to my mind? How does this impact my life? If it impacts it negatively, you
see?
Let the good fall into my hands, all the negative stuff go your way. Lies is offer. You have to understand that when things happen, you don't have to fall apart. Don't be a victim. Don't be afraid. Odida. Don't be afraid to fall. Don't be afraid. And what is holding a lot of people in some of these religions is this failure. Fear of failure to enter heaven. Fear of failure to go and see the Lord. Fear of failure to do to do those things that you've been programmed to believe are more critical than living. So you're stuck. Even when you see something is wrong, you don't want to question it. You don't want to question it, because to question it has consequences. So you're afraid of failure. And what is that failure? Not to achieve some imaginary something that somebody has fed you. So nobody can stop you because you are a spirit provider.
Excuse me.
The spirit of Chineke, that's who you are. The spirit of Chineke is in you. It was imbued in you when you were born. You have the power to overcome challenges. And as you get older, I'm telling you, folks, I'm a happier person because I do not get stuck in trying to be a victim or feel bad about everything. You know, I don't know if it's Yoruba or Hausa, I don't know what it is, but they say Ohodo. If it doesn't work, oh, so what? Ohodo, I don't care. Because this is not going to hold me. Nobody can stop you because you are experiencing the body and you're simply having a human experience. When something happens to you, chalk it up to human experience. This too shall pass. But it will only pass if I let it pass. If I stay focused on it, then it's not going to go away. It may stop you momentarily. It may knock you down, but if you're responsible enough, you will know that it is your responsibility not to let it or them keep you down. The African Women Mobilization Commission had an event scheduled yesterday on Zoom to raise money for children in internally displaced people's camps. We worked hard. We had meetings. We prepared for this telethon. We were ready. We were excited. I cannot tell you how many people I called and how many people were eager to join. But as soon as the program started, some fools hacked into the program and began to use profanity, racist slurs, and pornography. But as profane as their activities were, there's nothing that the eyes will see that will cause it to bleed. There's nothing that will stop anything. One monkey don't stop no show, like they say. Instead, we've learned what processes to follow to make our event even more successful the next time. We know who they are. People who cannot stand our rise. People who cannot stand to see Black progress. But what it has done is make us stronger, more determined, and more emboldened to say no to Odida. No to Odida. No to failure. Failure is not an option. You may have to take one step backwards just so you can take 10 forward. And that's okay. We've learned the lesson in it. When something happens, you have to ask yourself, did you get the lesson? Not that it happened. Did you get the lesson? What was the experience? Instead of fear or failure, you have to develop the determination to know what to do. As Igbo people say, Idi elu elu. I think the ancestors would approve of my lesson today. Yagazie.
Yagazie.
Deep your charger, your thoughts.
Oh, that was deep.
Well, before you say anything, let's welcome Dibia Chidozie.
Oh, okay. Dibia Chidozie.
I'm sorry I came late. I had to come and visit my brother's family. He's in Germany and the wife is here. So I said today, let me fulfill my husband duty.
Well done.
Yes, well done. So me and my family were here. In fact, I'm in their place doing this meeting.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good show.
Yeah. So good to be with you.
You've said a mouthful. Welcome, all the Dibias. Glad to have you. Every day above ground is a good day, and we're so thankful to Chineke that we have another opportunity, to be a blessing. to our audience and people out there. Yes, when you were a child, the initial fear that you had was after you learned how to crawl, because crawling was almost automatic. It was almost automatic. I never saw a kid that was afraid to crawl. Now, they might get distracted and you're telling the kid, come here, and they're just sitting there looking at you. But your initial fear as a child is standing up.
Yes.
And taking that step.
Yes.
You stand up like that, you want to walk, but you're afraid that if you take one step, you might fall. So the child is just there, kind of paralyzed. But a lesson is learned. Yes, there's fear, but wound around that fear is a goal. And the goal is to walk. So the baby gets enough courage. Courage. The best instrument to fight fear is having the courage. We all know that when humans were created, when Ifenta and Ada were created, Chineke said to them, everything I've created around you is for your own good. Through trial and error, you will be able to determine those things that are good for you to help perpetuate your existence on earth.
Say.
I love okra soup. We all eat a lot of vegetables and we all eat a lot of fruits. But before we figured out which food was good for us, somebody had to take the chance to go and taste it.
Yes.
Knowing fully well that if this is not good for you, you're going to die.
Yes.
But there's a purpose wound around that fear. That is to eat.
Yes.
So what do? You muster up enough courage, plug that fruit, and bite into it.
Yes.
And when you bite into that food and you're still alive, you now remember what Chineke said. Everything that I've created around you is for your own good. Through trial and error, you will be able to determine those things that are good for you to help perpetuate your existence on earth.
Yes.
Every journey in life involves a level of fear. Going to college is scary. The fear of failure. I may not make good grades. Maybe I'm not smart enough. But you muster up enough courage to register. And to mitigate that fear, you have to study and apply yourself. Same thing with starting a business. A lot of people want to start a business, but the fear of failure keeps you back. But with courage, like tasting the fruits to know if it's good for you. With courage, even if you fail, you learn along the way. There's always a goal wound around fear. Even if it's fear of getting shot if you go outside. You can mitigate that fear by saying, Muna Chiso, I'm going to the mall today. I walk with Chineke, the armor of God. Muna Chiso, I am one with Chineke. Let's go. You muster up the courage, put your armor of Chineke around you, and go and face the world. Because if you let the fear of going out there because there's a whole bunch of shootings, you paralyze your life, you're stuck in the house, and you never move forward. There are 7 deadly fears. And each one of them has a goal wound around it. The fear of connecting to people, connecting with family. Courage mitigates the fear of connection by you making an attempt to connect. And if you fail, so what? Nothing changed. You haven't lost anything. But if you're able to connect, you have progressed. in your life, and you have mitigated the fear of connected, the fear of being abandoned. How do you mitigate that? Do the things that allows people to have great relationship with you so that you're not abandoned. That requires a level of courage and not being paralyzed by the fear of being abandoned, so you don't make any kind of meaningful friendships or human connections. Mitigate that fear by making yourself a better person, understanding what it would take to foster good relationships with people so that you're not abandoned. Because if you allow the fear of abandonment to overtake you, you will never have meaningful relationships. And that requires courage. Fear of self-assertion. You're just a face in the crowd. All eyes on me. If I assert myself, I might make enemies. But if I act sheepishly, at least I pose no threats to anybody, and maybe they will accept me. And so you don't accept yourself, and people take advantage of you. Have the courage to accept yourself, because with fear behind it is a purpose. The purpose is to overcome it. The fear of lack of recognition, not being recognized. How do you mitigate that? You have to have the courage to step out there and do things that allows the world to recognize you positively, not negatively. Now, I mean, you don't want recognition by going there becoming a serial killer. Yeah, you're recognized, but look at all the lives you've ruined and lost. You're not walking with Chineke. You don't pray to God to allow you a kill today. Although the funny thing, I had a conversation one time with my dad, and my dad said, and okay, Dibia, you know this. My father said that even a thief prays before he burgles. And if he burgles successfully, guess who he gives credit to? I mean, there's a lot of people in church praying, turn around and commit a crime. And when it's successful, they say, thank God, I was able to rob this bank successfully. And you give praise to God. The idea is be careful of what your understanding of Chineke is. Right? Because even a thief will pray before the burgle. And if the burgle successfully, they give credit to Chineke. And we all know that Chineke is not about that. All right? Then you have the fear, the most important one to me, failure and success. That can really paralyze the person. When you're afraid to fail, you never try. But it requires courage for you to be able to mitigate the fear of failure and success. If you don't try, you will never succeed. And if you fail, then your failure just tells you one story. Do it better. You learn along the way. Life is a journey. Just because you fail doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You watch a boxing match, your opponent gets knocked down, the referee counts 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8. He gets back up. He puts up a fight and eventually knocks out the person that initially knocked them down. They have the courage to fight on. They have the courage to get up and get back in the fight.
That's right.
Because what you want to mitigate the failure with is the courage to get back up. It's not important how many times you get knocked down. It is, can you get back up and continue to fight? Life is a journey. It's about the ups and the downs. No, most people don't go through life smoothly without anything going wrong. There are rich people that became rich, worked real hard, and along the way of becoming rich, they lost loved ones.
Yes. There
are people that became rich, worked so hard, then there was a civil war, and all their business empires, everything crumbled. And they found themselves in a situation where they got to start all over again and rebuild. But it requires courage for you to do that. Yeah, so my thing is, be very courageous in everything that you do. Yes. You walk with Chineke, Muna Chiso. Failure is not an option. Yes. Get knocked down, get back up, because that's really what life is all about. It's a valley, ups and down, ups and downs. And in the end, after all your struggles, unfortunately, spiritually speaking, you die in the end. But metaphysically speaking, that is the journey of life, because death gives rise to renewal.
You say, Yagazie. I have a question for, thank you, Dibia Yudi. I have a question for Dibia Chiedozie and Dibia Monet. Monet, I'll start with you. What role do you think that procrastination, self-sabotage has? How does that contribute to fear of failure, you think? Self-sabotage and procrastination. How do you think that impacts failure?
Is that for me or
Monet?
Oh, okay. So procrastination, how I see it, and with people that I work with, when we're dealing with procrastination, there's something that I call the illusionary cycle. So the illusionary cycle is based on our experiences and how we respond to those experiences in an emotional way. It gets processed in the subconscious mind, creates a belief, and from those beliefs, a behavior. So procrastination, a lot of times when I see that, is that person, based on their experiences and how they've created these beliefs, procrastination is there for them to match up with those beliefs, their core values. And most people will not go against their core values and what they believe, even if it's something that is not good for them. So they may have created a belief to say, they're procrastinating because they've created this belief. It may be to start a business, but they've created this belief that they're not smart enough to start a business. Mm-hmm. So what happens? Subconsciously, they'll be trying and trying and trying, but subconsciously, they start to do their whole physiology, subconsciously and consciously, starts to do things to sabotage that. And procrastination is a good example of that, because they will procrastinate to register their business, to do the things that is necessary for them to move forward, because they have that core belief of themselves. Mm-hmm. Further, when they are able to dissociate from, or reframe, not dissociate, but reframe from that belief, reframe that belief and change it. I am good enough to start a business. I'm smart enough to start a business. Then you'll find that they're able to move forward, because procrastination is just a huge block that people go through. And a lot of times, like I said, it aligns with their core beliefs of themselves.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Love it. Dibia, now I have a question for you. What in your opinion, how does low self-esteem, begin? What starts it? Because we talk about people have low self-esteem. How do you get low self-esteem? What happens in our lives or in our minds that cause us to have such low self-esteem that we can't move forward? Dibia Chedozie.
It's a very fundamental question. Everything we need to be, whether we be courageous or we will have low self-esteem, is inside us. Just like all of you have stated already, because I met it when you were talking, Dibia was talking, then Dibia Ochoada, then Dibia Monet. Yeah, so everything we need is within us. We are born with it. But if we go back to human ontology of Eke, Agwu, Nachi, Eke is facticity. Let's put it that way. The factical thrownness. We are thrown into the world, and the world is full of challenges. But the problem is that when we are thrown into the world, depending on the spiritual system or philosophy that we have decided to kowtow with, we are told we are special beings. We are told we are chosen. We are told that we are immune from those inundations of life. So when things begin to happen to us, we'll begin to question the Lord, quote unquote. We forget that we are primarily human beings and that suffering is not meant for some people, while some people are exempted. So it depends again. We have everything in us to excel, but the culture we grow in, the philosophy we grow in, the spirituality we grow in. Okay, so the thing there is that we have to be taught from beginning that no one is special. Facticity, everybody is endowed with AK. You are born with... Yeah, hello.
Dibias, we have an echo. We have an echo. I'm going to take you out and bring you back in, so maybe we can, and then you can continue.
The echo might be on this end if it's a computer and telephone.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me see.
Yeah.
If it's got a computer and a telephone on at the same time, then one of them has to be shut off. The echo is probably on his end, not your end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please remove the other one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, yeah.
There we go.
So, like I was trying to say, everything we need to excel or fail in life is all in us. But our ontological attributes, ontological endowments with which we are born is native, is natural to us, they need to be nurtured. So the nurturing has to be in two ways. The society nurtures us, then we have to nurture ourselves. Because the best human being is the one that after you have been trained, you retrain yourself. You must have the nation of onwe, myself. But this understanding of self must be in tandem of I in connection with others. Kasamaduna, I in solidarity with others. Yes, I came efuna. Let I have from efuna. Yes, let my own not be lost, but my own will not be lost if I understand myself in solidarity with others. But I have to be brought up to understand that the human ontology consists of three basic things. One, AK, which is facticity. We are thrown into the world. We didn't bargain for it. We just find ourselves there, and we have to cope with it. And these are bringing by some spirituality that we are chosen, we are special people, so we are exempted, immune from suffering, from challenges of life.
Yes.
It has a way of making people develop what Dibias has called false illusionary mentality.
Yeah.
Suffering is not meant for me.
Yeah.
And so people begin to do ostrich hiding. And so now there is Egwu. Egwu is there to facilitate us to any dimension we have taken. If we want to live our life recriminating and regretting, living our life saying, why was I born poor? Why are my parents poor? Why am I born short, ugly? If we spend all our life regretting our circumstance of life, then we will not move towards our possibilities. So for us to move towards our possibilities, our potentialities, our transcendence, our existentiality, we have to move towards Chi. And when we look up towards Chi, we should understand, like they say in Igbo ontology, the world, you are thrown there. So whatever you see, you have to be a decay. A decay is one. Decay is not just the brave, it's not just the courageous, but the wise, who knows that the facticities and challenges of life is what makes us greater. All of us as human beings must go through the funnel. we must be chiseled, like the sculptor chisels, chunks out part of the wood that is not required to get the image he or she wants. That is the way we go through life. Just like the blacksmith, the goldsmith, they mold raw iron into shapes. That's how we are shaped through life. Every one of us have to pass through this, and we must be taught to know this from beginning. That the way to go about life is to know that we are just nobody except what we make ourselves after society has provided us the playing field for us to excel. Yes, life will be plagued with anxiety, dread, anguish. All of these will be there, but we also have our chi to look up to. But to summarize, the Igbo say, meaning that he or she who has mission and vision does not despair. Those who despair, those who chicken out, are those who have not defined where they want to go. If you have defined where you want to go, I will use myself as an example. When I wanted to study philosophy, so no, philosophy is no go area. People who study don't do well. I said, well, disciplines don't make you what you are. You make yourself, you make what you want out of discipline. I wanted to go into the African spirituality. Oh, it's about occultism. I say, yeah, I want to see. It's about witchcraft. I say, I want to see what witches do. I want to see if that power of witchcraft will be greater than the power in me, my self-realization. Yes. If this witchcraft power will make me to begin to do the wrong things. But when I got there, I discovered it's all about self-discipline, self-realization. It even gives you the greater courage for you to be an undertaker. And so because we do not know all of these, we run away from the source of our power. And so to summarize, the source of our power is in our spirituality. There you have touch with the foundations of the past. And then when you wake up in the morning, you assure yourself, not just praying to a God in heaven, that you are not, you don't know whether it answers you or not, but that you have the living dead and the living now, that they are with you, you are in communion with them, and that whatever you're doing, you are not alone. You are there because others are there, and so you have to excel. And as you excel, it's not just I alone, I myself alone. No, it is I excelling in the midst of others. And so that is how I understand this issue. We must be in tandem with self-understanding, understand who we are, understand our potentialities, then understand the philosophy, the spirituality of our people, then understand what it takes to be a human being. Madu, you are not a human being if you despair. You are not a human being if you run away from responsibilities. You are not a human being if you cannot define your goals and aspirations. You are not a human being if you cannot attempt to excel. What makes us Mando the beauty of life is that we are able to define our dreams, define our goals, pursue them, but while pursuing them, we do not pursue them just for myself alone. We pursue them so that when I excel, I can also drag other ones along. And that is why we say, if we go alone, we may go fast, but if we go together, we go far.
You know, I actually had asked a question, and I want each one of you to take it and run with it. Whichever one of you want to address it. But he says, how do we say courageous in Igbo? But I know that in my Igbo language, we say onike. Somebody who's so courageous, they say chat onyabo onike. Onike is a tough person. EDK, when somebody says EDK, you are strong, you're courageous, all right? And do you guys, is that
yeah, it's pretty close. OBK, a strong person. I mean, courage is OBK.
Well, yeah.
Courage is, DK is different from OBK.
Only
okay? Only DK, a strong person, is different from a courageous person. They're two different things.
He has a strong heart.
Yeah. OBK is courage.
Yeah,
It's because it comes from here. Mind here. OBK.
Yeah.
Then DK and courage, of course, they're not used interchangeably, but DK is associated with a courageous person too. Right?
Yeah.
DK and wrestling.
And
DK
it all depends on how.
It really depends on what it is you're trying to say.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But courage in itself is OBK. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if you've done a lot of things that require the level of strength and courage, you've earned it. It's almost like a title, right? DK.
Just like when you say OBK, they can also say courage, Onike.
Yeah, Onike, yeah. It depends on what it is you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
It really depends on what you're trying to say. It doesn't, Onike necessarily doesn't mean, oh, he's very courageous or whatever. It just depends on the sense you're trying to make. But courage, if you want to define it in Igbo, it is OBDK. You understand what I'm saying? That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but that's what I see.
Okay, no, that's perfectly sound. What does Ikenga? Let me read that so everybody can see. What does Ikenga? What does Ikenga and Akaraka, or what role does Ikenga and Akaraka, our Ikenga and Akaraka play in our combating fear of failure?
In Chiism and Nkporo spiritual culture, Ikenga is conscientism. Human, know yourself. Talent, you have to know yourself. You have to be self-aware. Akaraka is your destiny. That's what Akaraka means. Akaraka is destiny. Ikenga is conscientism, being conscious, understanding one's self. Okay? One area of understanding oneself is your talent. Let's say you're an artist. You're naturally endowed with this. Sometimes you're socialized into having a level of talent. Sometimes you're taught, and then you get so good at something, it becomes talent. But some people have this natural endowment of talent. I have a natural endowment of, I'm an artist. Nobody taught me anything. But I could draw. I am good, very good. I'm professional good. I never took an art lesson. Now, it's always said that if you make a living using your Ikenga, you never work a day in your life. You're supposed to be the happiest person because you're earning money, earning a living, doing what you're naturally endowed to do. If you are conscious of your talent, if you know your Ikenga, fear is not an option because you're comfortable. You're endowed with it. You have the skills. You have the talent. This is something that you're happy doing. There's no fear involved in Ikenga. But there's fear involved in it if you don't know what your limitations are. You don't know what you don't recognize your gift as a spiritual being. What you have, some people have a talent to speak, like you, okay, Dibias. You understand what I'm saying? Some people have this talent of they're mathematicians. They're so smart, they could do math and all that, and they do great things. Some people have political talent, science, whatever, different walks of life. Some people are great hunters. And then, of course, you embolden those people and kind of perfect their craft by putting them through some kind of formal training. But most people, if they tap into their Ikenga, have a calling. They have something that they have skills in doing. It is a question of recognizing that. That recognition can be nurtured when you're a child. Your parents look at you as they're raising you. They automatically are able to identify what your skill levels, your skill set is. You could be a great artist, a great wrestler, a hunter, whatever it is, and they will encourage you.
Yes.
But the thing about it is, a lot of people are not tapped into their ikenga. They don't know what their limitations are. They don't know what their gift is. And if you don't know what your gift is, but you see that there's an avenue for you to improve yourself, but that avenue becomes difficult because this specific avenue is not part of your consciousness, your ikenga. It's not part of your skill set, your gift. So it now requires you to do a little bit more to gain expertise in this specific area for you to be able to do something with it. Whereas if you tapped into your ikenga, it will lead you to the hallmarks of your destiny, because you're always going to hear the faint voice of Chineke leading you, telling you what to do, what is right and what is wrong. And you will be guided through your chi to the hallmarks of which is your destiny. Yeah.
Do you think, I'm sure you would agree with me, that most people now do not know what their akaraka is? All right. They don't know because they're not taught. We're not taught anymore to tap into that, to look for it. Whereas we're putting it in someone else's hand. You know, just pray for that person to lead you to your destiny. Not what can I do to get there, but you know, we pray hard enough. You know, someone else is responsible. You know, which is not what Chiism is saying, right? Chiism is saying you're responsible.
You're responsible. The thing about it, and I think Dibias have mentioned this, you know, along these lines, you know, earlier on in his presentation when he was speaking. But sometimes, like I said, when he talked about being socialized into stuff, you know, the society will socialize you into stuff. Your parents will socialize you into stuff. You're encouraged into it. Now, depending on, as he mentioned, spirituality, the religion, how you're socialized. Some people are socialized into believing that they are more superior than other people, or that everything is given to them, so it doesn't really require any level of input, courage, or hard work from them. They feel entitled to stuff, right? Depending on how you're socialized and how you're raised, your upbringing, this is not something that permeates all human societies in terms of being born and then automatically you're encouraged to tap into your natural observable skills and talent, and then encouraged to follow along those lines, you know, to your akaraka, your destiny. A lot of times, I remember when I was coming to the United States, I could have been an architect or an artist or whatever. I like to design things. That's just what I like to do. I like to draw and all that. But I used to have this fear of even telling my parents that I want to be an artist. Because back then, when we were growing up, you know, you had to be a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor. That was it. These are your options. I mean, you're not going to tell your parents, you know, I'm going to university. What are you studying? Sociology. Really? They can't brag with that. They want to say, my son is an engineer. My daughter is an engineer. My daughter is a doctor. My son is a doctor. What have you. But if you personally have observed your skill set and your talent, you don't have to follow that kind of expectation that, you know, is put up on you to be a lawyer and engineer, even though you have no lawyering skills. You're terrible making arguments. You know, you're bad in math. How am I going to be an engineer? But now you're going to go in there, struggle hard, get up, fail, stand up, keep working hard till you become an engineer. Now you're working as an engineer, but you're a miserable human being because you are not naturally endowed to be an engineer.
Yeah.
But if, while being nurtured and you're encouraged to tap into your observable skill set, you will find yourself not courageous, but very, very successful and happy to be doing things that you feel is part of your destiny because you're naturally endowed. And it's never too late. And I really will encourage everybody, the audience, if you're not happy with what you're doing, because I know when I went back to school to go get a degree in UX development and UI development, some of my classmates were medical doctors that decided that being a doctor was not really what they wanted to do. And they decided to use their learned skill as medical doctors and then really do what they want to do or what they love to do, which is to design things. So they started to design applications, medical applications, to help to diagnose diseases and all that kind of stuff. And for them to be able to tap into the natural talent of designing things, they now decided to formally get an education or formally get trained to be able to design applications, medical applications. But they went to medical school and then found out that being a doctor is not really what they wanted to do. So it wasn't part of their destiny. So they were never happy.
Yes. And that is so true. I have to ask Dr. Monet and Chido. Thank you, Dibia Yudi. Very well said. I want to ask Dr. Monet a question. You know, very honestly, and I think Dibia Yudi covered it, but no one of us likes to make mistakes. That's just the bottom line. We don't. At best, mistakes sometimes come up as an embarrassing situation for us, you know, and at worst, sometimes they affect your loved ones, maybe members of your team or whatever. But we all know that it's not something that you can always avoid, you know. But you can want to be as perfect as possible, you know, but it's important to understand that to err is human. The moment you stop making mistakes, obviously, then you stop growing, and your life and career is stunted. So, Dr. Monet, what I want to ask from a spiritual perspective, okay, is every risk worth taking? You know, do we really need to enter in situations that may cause us mental and physical harm? You know, is it all worth it? Where do we draw the line? When is it okay to take that risk to address something? When is it important that you don't bother with it?
I would say, first of all, we have to identify if the risk lines up and is bringing equity to that of which we are here for. All right, Kanga, does it line up with that? You know, does it line up with our purpose? And we have to be led by that. So if it does not line up with that, we have to weigh, is this risk worth it? Now, if it lines up with our purpose, if it lines up with why we're existing now, and we've identified that, we can say, well, you know, this may bring equity. Taking that risk can bring equity to what it is that I am here to do, what it is that I am, you know, I came here for, that I'm existing for, you know. So if it lines up with that, it is worth the risk, because we will be supported by the universe. We will be supported by Chineke. We will be supported by the ancestors. But on the other hand, if there are risks, say that someone is telling you the direction to go, and it does not line up with your core, you know, what you're here for, you're in Kanga. It doesn't line up with, you know, the way in which you should be existing here, then the risk is not worth it, because from my experience, it never works out. Every time that I've tried to go against my path and I've listened to someone and I've taken risks to do certain things that has nothing to do with why I'm here and why I'm existing here, and my talents and my purpose and what I'm contributing here, every time it was not a good outcome. And so we have to weigh that. What is the reason? Because sometimes and a lot of times, to elevate us, Chineke will put us in situations that can be very fearful, things that we don't understand, and it just has to do with where we are in our maturation. And a lot of times I will pray to Chineke and say, you know, forgive me for not being at the maturity level to understand, because a lot of times it all lines up in the end if it's in a line with our purpose, what Chineke has brought us here to do. But if it doesn't line up, that's a great gauge. If it doesn't line up with that of which we're here for, then we should not be going in that direction. A lot of times I'll have clients that, you know, I'll see what they're good at. I'll tell them, wow, you're good at this. You know, why are you not pursuing that? And a lot of times it's fear. They're doing something totally different. And then a lot of chaos, you know, their life is not the way that they would desire it to be. They're having a lot of issues. But as soon as they go into that direction, you know, as soon as they submit to their kingdom,
yes,
things are changing around for them. And so I encourage people, gauge every decision that you make by, is this going to bring equity in what I'm here for? You know, so how little it may be, is this going to bring equity in what I'm here for and elevate me and take me to the next level and what I'm gifted with?
Yes, Yagazie, very good. Dibia Cho, Akachi has asked, how do you know though? How do you know your akaraka, what it is? How do you know? How do you identify it?
Well, we have to be taught to be close to our spirituality from beginning, because our forefathers have made ways by which we can know our akaraka, and that connects our ikenga, that connects our personality, because ikenga is just there for us to identify that area that we'll excel in. So all of these are connected. Now, take for instance, when I decided to take initiation, then what they call Umfiafa, my Odu, resonates with exactly what I have established myself to be since I knew myself from secondary school, because I had the confusion, what will I study? Is it journalism? Do I want to be a writer like Chinua Achebe? Was I going to go into engineering? Because I used to build, when I was little, before I started primary school, according to my parents, whatever I see that passed, any vehicle, I will mold it. Either I use elephant grass, I use some milk cans. I'll have a way of burning them and heating them to remove the two edges. Then I slice them into pieces and use them to mold, or I use clay to mold. So what will I do until I found myself in trance consistently for about 20 days? And then I was asked to choose between spiritual powers and intellectual powers. Whichever one I choose, I will be facilitated to excel. And I said, I wanted to know what tied spirituality and intellectualism together. What's the link? And so that's what I want to know. And then, of course, in my dream, on that 20th day, there was things like volcanic eruption, flood, and all that. Then from the middle of all these inundations, erupted philosophy. Because my pronouncement in trance was, I want to read a course that would take me to the inner side of mind, and how the human mind comes about invention, how the human mind transcends into the secrets of things. And eventually, when I wrote my PhD thesis, it was on transcendence. I didn't know that's what I was fulfilling. It was 2 years after I finished and defended my PhD in 2003, I fell in trance, and I was taken back in 1984 when I made that pronouncement. So I now discovered, it now dawned on me that when I'm teaching in class anything about philosophy of mind, human personality, human nature, I discuss as if I'm talking, I am seeing the inside of the human being. So now, in 2009, when I would go for my initiation, exactly every trajectory of my life, without telling them, was unveiled before me. And so when my own son was to go, and his own Odu identified areas he will excel, our forefathers are all of these. That's the reason why we have Afa. That's the reason why we are let people read their incarnation, because we are not into our spirituality. When people read their incarnation, we think that they are possessed by demons. Like every of my children have read their incarnation. My daughter specifically told me when I was dressing her up, when she was 4, that was in the month of May 7, 2009. She was 4, and then she has celebrated her birthday on the 18th of April. So I was dressing her up, and she told me, she tapped me and told me, "Daddy, I used to be a mommy. I used to be your mommy. I used to take care of you, like you are taking care of me now." You know? And so she read her incarnation, and we watched her and then we identify where she will excel. And then we are let her repeat by her incarnation. She identified where she will go. So we need people who have the spiritual eye. We need people who understand what the human being is in tandem with the cosmic. Because we are just like spirit beings in bodies. We come from elements. The elements we come from, and the mixture of the elements, how they mix, determine our nature individually, what we will excel in, what we will best excel in, and what we will not excel in. All right? And some people are gifted to be multi-talented, but you have to identify which one will make them excel, so that every other talent they have will fructify. All right? So what I'm saying is that if you look at the West, they have what you call horoscope. And a lot of us do not know that the Western dating system, like today is 30th of April 2023, the month of April belongs under a particular horoscope. And so their teachers, those who are into metaphysics, they know this. So when they are registering their children from kindergarten, they know where these children will excel by their horoscope. So that's why they teach them by using toys, let them play, and they have people watching them. We have these sort of things in our spirituality. You, okay, Dibia charger, Dibia money, you know this thing more than I'm saying, because you are in the practice. I'm teaching the theory. So you know it. So ways have already been devised by our forefathers to know this. They read the cosmic, the cosmos, the forces, the 4 elements that which chukwu manifested itself, Chineke manifested itself as 4 elements, aka water, and so on and so forth. Water, air, earth, and fire, aka Oria, Afonangwo. So they knew that, and they know the mixture of these, and they knew what you will excel in. That's why they have the adage that we can spot from the immediate hatching of an egg, we can spot the chick that will grow a cock.
And we would thank you so very much. Go ahead and sum it up, because we have to go into something else. And I just wanted to say that.
But again, you, like Dibia Charger said, you have to listen to your inner self. Tell yourself the truth. Do not be driven by anxiety. Do not be driven by pretense. Don't do things because others do it.
Yes.
Your Ikenga is in your, and your Akaraka are connected.
Yes.
And once you understand your Ikenga, the Abia, the spirit, will wake up and accelerate it. And once that happens, then you now develop the expertise of mastery, Inka, the mastery. Once that happens, you have become a Dibia of yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You say,
well said.
This segment is just absolutely powerful. I want to thank all of you. And now we have to go into the next part of our program today. I want to play a video, and this video is only two minutes long, but it's very important because it really addresses what we're talking about here, how the human, particularly in Africa, how religion has become such a destructive force that even people are now accepting death as part of religion. You know, not death that comes naturally, but death that is imposed upon them so that they can see the, you know, the hereafter, the Lord, or whatever they call it. But I just want you to watch this. Now, I want to, a disclaimer here. It's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing. And us as Chiists, this is what we're talking about. When we are not in control of our minds, when we allow other people to rule our minds, this is imperative. So please watch this movie, and we'll come back on the backside and talk about it.
Tunasumbuana, kaja kachukua wale watoto akakimbia nao. Kimbia nao nikafanya uchunguzi, nikajua alikimbia akaenda karibu na hapo Frunsi, karibu na hiyo kanisa la Makenzi. Nikawarudisha wale watoto, kuwarudisha. Haya akarudi pale nyumbani. Kurudi pale nyumbani akajifanya ametulia, nikamwambia kanisani ukienda usirudi nyumbani. Ukienda nenda huko, lakini watoto wangu waache hapa. Akaja kawaiba watoto tena. Akaenda nao gongoni huko chini kabisa. Pastor Makenzi alikuwa na kanisa huko. Watoto wangu najua walikufa. Hiyo ndio ni kweli, sababu wale vijana ambao waliniambia watoto wangu mpaka wakanitajia majina yote, walikaa huko kutoka mwaka 2001. Walikuwa hapo kwa Makenzi. Na wakaniambia huyu anaitwa fulani. Na walikuwa wanijua. Na wakaniambia hao tuliacha wakiwa wamefungishwa, wamekufa tayari.
My people. And the sad part of this is it's not just these people that you saw. It's going on so many places in Africa. This whole notion that if you starve yourself to death, that you have a quicker ride to heaven. See God. Your thoughts, guys. I just let you guys make a comment. UD, we'll start with you. UD, unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. No, I'm saying, I'm wondering, is committing suicide a sin? I thought it was a sin, taking your own life.
Okay.
You know, in the Christian context, I thought it was a sin. Taking your own life is sinful. You can't do it. That's why you can't, taking your own life in Islam is not, depending on which sect and teachings of Islam you listen to. So you could go out there and blow yourself up so you could have some two black-eyed virgins. And in Christianity, if you ask a Christian to do the same thing, they'll tell you, I just bought a house, and I think the Lord will want me to live in it for a little while before I kill myself. So I'm not about to do nothing to myself right now. Right? So I thought it was sinful. But, this is all part of the sickness of colonization. Okay? That's how we got this stuff. You know, our minds are colonized. You know, this to an extent is not different from remember Jim Jones in Guyana?
Yes, yes.
You know, and the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas. You know, where people that you think are perfectly sane, lawyers, doctors, engineers, you know, housewives, husbands, and all that, suddenly give up everything in pursuit of this spiritual utopia that doesn't exist. It just doesn't, you know, and it's the perils of allowing people to practice a religion that has no rules. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to pick on Christianity or Islam or anything. They just have no rules when it comes to spirituality. There are no rules. There are no boundaries. It's capitalism. This all started, you know, Christians, from what I understand, were actually trying to be spiritual people until 378 AD, when Christianity became the Catholic Church became the official religion of the Roman Empire. You know, and the genesis started with Constantine, Nicene Council of 325 AD, so on and so forth. And then 378, finally, was adopted as the official religion of the Roman Empire, where they made rules of engagement. And part of the rules of engagement did not include common sense. And then colonization exhibited, and slavery exhibited everything. People brainwashed. You now feel that you have to be part of this ignorance to be accepted as a viable member of a society. Then you take it to the extreme. There's no, what do you say? There are no boundaries of extremism when it comes to Abrahamic religions. What's important is the goal of the religious organization. Control. African spirituality, before the European and the Arab came to our shores with the Bible and Quran in tow, went over here trying to convert somebody from Chiism to Urumilarism. Spirituality was a personal thing. But Abrahamic religion has taken Christianism out of this personal engagement with Chineke and have created a middleman. You, the middleman, and God. There's no relationship. Monachiso does not exist in Abrahamic religion. There's no direct relationship with you and God and Chineke. There has to be the middleman. Only through this middleman can you receive the blessings of God. And this fortified fear of going to hell, the idea that you don't live for this world, but you live for God, is totally false. You live in this world. Everything in this world was created by Chineke. Even evil. That's going a little deep, but we might as well just get off into stuff right here. You cannot believe that evil exists independently while at the same time believe in that everything in this universe was created by God. And when we talk about everything created by God, we're just not talking about physical manifestations. Everything that happens in this universe was created by Chineke. And everything in this universe has a purpose. Even evil has a purpose. You just pray that it doesn't affect you. But without evil, how would you know good? Two sides to a coin. Without evil, how would you know good? Without good, how would you know what's evil? You can't be tall and short at the same time. It takes a short person for you to know you're tall. It takes a good person for you to know what a bad person is. They all exist for one thing and one thing only: population control and making sure that rebirth continues. Imagine if nothing died. Just think about that. Let's go by creation. It could be Adam and Iventa, the first man and woman in Igbo cosmogony, in order to be specific. Or you could go biblical and say Adam and Eve, the first people created. And they give you all this jive talk about eating the apple, and because you ate the apple, now you found out that you are naked. I'll tell you one thing, if Adam and Eve didn't eat that apple, man and woman wouldn't know they're naked. We'll be on this program right now, naked, having a conversation. So I don't buy into that. They ate the apple, that's why people now die. Now think about this. The myth of Adam and Eve is 7,000 years old. That's how old it is, because that's how old Jewish history is. 7,000 years ago, if everybody that was alive 7,000 years ago was still alive today and we continue to procreate, where would you put people? How would you feed humanity? There are certain truths in spirituality and religion that has to be told, but you can't tell these truths because it eliminates the idea of control. Eliminates the idea of behavioral control, where people feel that there's penalty for misbehaving. And hopefully understanding these penalties, whether it's real or not real, allows human beings to coexist without everybody going around doing anything they want. You want somebody's wife, you could go take it. You want somebody's property, you could go take it without any consequences. The idea of heaven and hell is designed for one purpose and one purpose only, including reincarnation, control behavior while you're here in this world living, because all creations are here in this world. We have no idea what happens after you die. The only way to know what happens is when you die. That's when you experience afterlife. But as long as you're alive, you don't experience. You have no clue. You have no idea. Human behavior, particularly Africans, we're just a victim of colonized minds. And through our socialization and our school systems, our educational system, we were never brought back into the fold to tap into our ancestral way of doing things. What our ancestors put forth to us, we never defined ourselves by our own history, culture, spirituality, and traditions. What you see is what we call invented traditions, borrowing from other cultures, mix it up a little bit, and then create a local culture of your own, and then embed yourselves in it, and then live in this falsehood. Because if these people were tapped into African spirituality, their culture, understood the blueprint that their ancestors left, stuff like this wouldn't be happening. They're just victims.
Yeah, they are victims. And one of the things that they were giving them, water, blessed water, which is supposed to be so rich in minerals and nutrients, and that's good enough, okay? And that it will cure, diseases and all that sort of thing. And then, so they will be pure and whatever when they get to heaven and all of that. Yeah,
I don't have any, left ignorant, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I got to tell you something. I don't have any problem with heaven, because what it does for some people who don't seem to have any hope is that it's something for them to look up to. But the problem is, if you don't give them any options, they don't now see it, as they now see it as the only thing that they have to do to feel better about who they are, about living, and also sort of thing. So because it's not really teaching them what happens when they die. They are focused on what they must do in this life so that they will go to heaven. You understand? So they have to deprive themselves of so much. They have to deprive themselves of life. So they go to this place where where there's nothing but roses up there, and you're going to sit at the foot of God and all that. But you got to suffer here. How is that motivational? If you motivate me and say, hey, if I do all the good things in this world, and I'll go to I live a beautiful life right here, and then I'll go somewhere else when I leave here, I'll have a better life too. But if you're telling me I got to start with that, I have to suffer first. This is where the problem is. This is where the problem is, because now our people are being taught to suffer. before they go to this other wonderful place. So religion is mythology when all is said and done. Let's face it. Religion is mythology. So, but what mythology does is it's supposed to be used to tell a story. It's supposed to be used to tell you something to do or what not to do, what your ancestors did and all that stuff. It's not supposed to be a criminal act. It's not supposed to be used to commit a crime. This was a crime committed with the mythology. The mythology of going somewhere after you have suffered on this earth, then you're going to go to this place and then you're going to find life much better. Like Akachi said, this is criminal. Yeah. This mythology does not teach anything. It doesn't teach how to live well here. It teaches you how to starve yourself here so that you can go elsewhere and live a better life. Dr. Dibias Chedozie. You have to mute yourself.
Sorry for that.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I think you've said it all. It's all about mind control. Mm-hmm. And because of this mind control, the contemporary African leadership, contemporary African government think that statehood, state organization has to be run from Rome, from London, from Washington. They have abandoned the responsibility of social organization, political organization, in the hands of individuals. And these individuals are being sponsored by foreign religion. Yeah. And that is one thing that Paul Kagame of Rwanda has waded into. He says, you cannot use religion to exploit my people. That is a man who is in charge and who knows that religion is supposed to be used for political, social organization. The ultimate purpose of religion when it started was for state organization. It was later on this issue of salvation of soul going to heaven or going to hell came in. And later on, it became a business in the hands of the Pope. And then entered into Christianity. And today, salvation has become, immortality and salvation has become a business because religion in itself has become a business. Yes. That is why African traditional religion insists you do not preach God. Rather, you structure society in such a way that everyone behaves God. God is seen in everyone's character. Yes. Because once you allow this question of proselytization, preaching, God will be made a commodity, and everything about spirituality will become religion. And religion, if you don't have state control, will become an instrument for individuals to line up their pockets. And so, what we need to do, and which we are doing right now, which is why this program will continue to be useful to the African people, is to let African leadership know that the primary purpose of religion is to aid social, economic, political cohesion. Yes. Anything out of it, it's a derangement, a denigration of the human entity. And it behoves on us as Africans to know that, like Fela sang, said, teacher, don't teach me nonsense. After you don't teach me, you don't do, I will know. When after teaching me, I have my own brain, let me appraise what you have taught me my own way. And so he says, me, I no agree to copy Oyibo style because Oyibo no would pass me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the problem is that we have left religion in the hands of quacks. This is the part of the world, Africa is the part of the world, like Mugabe said, where the dropouts, the cultists who dropped out of school, enter into religion, Christianity particularly, and some of them go and join, become fake Dibia, and they begin to control the soul of the first-class brains. So
yes,
something is wrong with us. We must know that a people don't go beyond what their state of mind is. And so African leadership must be told to take mantleship of what it takes to build a state. Religion should not be left in the hands of quacks or individuals.
Because it's very important.
Yes, professors who have not produced anything for the state, mathematicians who do not theorize or give us a formula that will be useful for mining or solving one problem or the other. The Lord will call them to become pastors, medical doctors who have invented nothing. The Lord will call them to become pastors and begin to mess up human minds. These are technicians who do not know anything about human nature. And so for them, human beings are not different from things, property, to be mesmerized. And until we know that the leader, once you are a leader, you are over and above the pastor, the imam, the dibia, you are to coordinate them. And you have to make the law for everything to be channeled towards state building. Until we do this sort of mayor will continue to be. That's my take.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think my husband had just shared with me to have this little thought, and that is that mythology reflects the constructs of its own culture. Own culture. Your mythology must be focused on your own culture.
From your own perspective.
The Greeks never taught their people Roman mythology first. They taught themselves. They taught their people Greek mythology. Akachi, being Dr. Monet, Akachi has written something that I think is worth expanding, and I'll let you do that. He says, because you used to be a former Christian, he says, as a former Christian, you are born in sin. Your flesh is sin. Your thoughts are sinful. Your heart is full of lust. You're wrong from birth to heaven. You're wrong from birth. So heaven is better because life is suffering, persecution, striving to be like someone else. Christ, not yourself, because you are wrong. That's powerful. She said it. She took it there. Go ahead. Expand on that.
That's absolutely true. When I was into Christianity, one of the main teachings is that your body is evil. Your body is full of sin. Your body is what drives you to commit sins. It is your flesh that drives you to commit sins. So you almost have a hate for your body. And you become so focused on connecting and getting to heaven that what is here on the earth, they also teach that the earth is sinful and the earth is evil, that Satan came down to the earth and made the earth evil. So they don't see the value and they don't see Chineke here on earth or inside of themselves. It is taught against. And when you don't see Chineke within inside of yourself and you don't see it in your surroundings and you're taught that everything is evil.
Yes.
What do you do? That as you formulate these belief systems, it is quite easy for what happened in that video to happen. Because what happens is, why are you here? Because your end goal is to go to heaven. That is your end goal. You know, even though there are scriptures, there's a lot of things that contradict themselves because it says our bodies is a temple of God. But it also says that our body is full of sin. So which one is it? But a church that would, are focused on that your body is sinful, that your flesh is sinful. And then it also, the teachings of grace, which allows for Christians to do a lot of different things that have no accountability.
Yeah.
That your flesh is driving you to do all these sins. I had a client recently, last week. She's a Christian, and she said, well, yeah, we're talking about an individual that was doing very nefarious acts, you know, and she said, well, it's not him. It's the devil inside of him. It's the spirit, that evil spirit that has influenced him to do that.
Yeah.
I say, yes, it is the spirit inside of him, his spirit.
Yeah.
His spirit is driving him to do that. It has nothing to do with a devil. It has to do with his spirit.
Yeah.
You're making excuses for a person choosing to do the things that they choose to do, and then they get away with it because you have a belief system that you have to forgive him because it's not really him. He's being possessed by this evil spirit that is causing him to do all of these evil things. No,
Yes.
that is not true. It is not true. It is his spirit. You have to take accountability. One of the major things that liberated me when I got out of Christianity was the fact that people have to take that was not true. That there was no, it was their spirit. It was their decision to do the things, wrong things that they were doing. Because it's a very bad feeling as if you don't have any justice for acts that someone may do against you. And then the church is telling you, just forgive them because it wasn't them. It was that evil spirit. It was their flesh. Your flesh, your own being. It was their own being, their flesh. That they feel is not divine. That they feel not only the flesh, but our earth is just full of sin. We have no control over ourselves. None.
Yes.
When you take on that belief system, when you get to the extreme parts of that belief system, what happens? I'm starving myself to death. I'm going to starve myself to death because I don't want to be associated with this evil body. I want to free myself from this evil body, from this evil environment that I'm in. Not taking accountability for any of the reasons that you may be going through, some of the things that you're going through, or for things that people have done to you. No accountability. And then it's easy if they have been conditioned, because a lot of us have been conditioned from birth. I know here in America, we knew, like my family knew no other religion, knew no other way. So when you're taught that, and then you may go to the extremes because you're seeking Chineke, you're seeking relationship with God, what they say is God, you're going to extreme measures to try to connect, not knowing that Chineke is right here. Chineke is inside of you. You do not need a preacher. And even, see, the thing is, you have to read the Bible. I really studied the Bible when I was a Christian. And that's one of the things that got me out of Christianity. When I read the verse, this was a pivotal moment for me. I am in you and you're in me. And I said, and Spirit told me, why do you need a preacher? Why do you need to go to church? If I'm led by Chineke, if I'm led by God, why am I doing all of these things? It makes no sense.
Yes, thank you so much. Because you know what? When we say, Minachiso, I am one with Chineke, it doesn't mean that Chineke, there's another saying that says, you don't climb the okra tree, right? And let go because God is there, right? You still have a responsibility to do the right thing. What you agree to do, the power is there to help you make it manifest into reality. So we've got everything we need to be better human beings. Now, I understand that in Kenya, they are going to, the government is now going to scrutinize the churches to make sure that they are, what they're preaching. What you have to do is tell these people to pack their stuff and leave us alone. You're not, hear me. We're going to moderate what they do. We're going to monitor what they do. What are you monitoring? They're still lying.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do is you empower the traditionalists, empower those who are who hold the culture together, our spiritual culture. Empower them. Not tell me you're going to monitor these people, but what are you monitoring? You, the government, you go to their churches.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it you're monitoring? Well, you're going to decrease the number of them? I'm not saying, look, every church, for the most part, every religion, their intentions originally is good. But then it was taken away by charlatans. And money took over. It became, just like Dibias said, it became an avenue for making money. Became an avenue. If you can't make it in this way, you can always go in front of the pulpit and spew your nonsense. And it's backed by the government because you got the right to do all of that. You see what I'm saying? But at this point in our lives as African people, that we need to enact it into reality. If I agree, my God will agree. If my God will not agree for me to die first before I go see him or her, whatever terminology you use.
Yes.
If that God is here, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to go anywhere to look for the Spirit. Holy Spirit is here. What you agree to make manifest is what's going to happen. You have to agree. The fact that God, Chineke is in you doesn't mean that, you just do all kinds of bad stuff. It's just saying, I'm ready. I'm ready when you're ready to do the right things because you got that opportunity. But you also have the opportunity to do bad things. But you need to turn away from the ways of others who have come to the shores of Africa and have taught you that you are not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not worthy of living, that now you can starve yourself. People are being killed on the continent. Either we're being killed with diseases,
yes,
or we're killed with a psychological warfare.
Yes.
You name it, the attack is crazy. But we are allowing it. You can talk about what people are doing to you when you allow it to happen. And that's what we're doing. And we're allowing it to happen by various sectors. But the main sector is the religious front. That's the worst attack we have. People can see something wrong and they will excuse it away because the devil said. The devil made it, cause this to happen. Yes, Akachi, give it back to them. No, our mama's soup is good. It's the one best for us. Stop trying to be like other people. Let other people be who they are. It's okay. Let white people be white people. It's okay. Let Asians be Asians. It's okay. Black people be black. It's okay. Then we can come in the Committee of Human Interrelationships and we put something on the table and say, this is who we are. This is what we have done and this is what we could do. We should stop trying to be like other people to be accepted into the human consciousness of others. We're just as good as anybody else. And I'm not preaching that we should put anybody down. I'm just preaching that we need to build ourselves up, embrace who we are, fight for our children, fight for our communities. Stop doing all these things we do willy-nilly because anybody who comes to our community and give us money and flash money, we follow them. This is what you've got. We talked about it last time, those Asian children. Why do you think they're teaching black children to speak Asian? Huh? Why? So they don't have to be bothered to speak to you in your language. They don't have to be bothered to speak to you in English. So that if they want to deal with you, you already know their language. So they'll deal with you on those bases. Not to make life better for you, but to make life better for them. Somebody say, he said, am I telling the truth here?
Truth.
Well, let me preach today.
He said.
Okay, Dibia, we've got 6 minutes. So I'm going to give you Now wait a minute. Now you have to hold on to that 2 minutes I'm giving you because I want everybody to do the roundup.
Yeah, I just
Go
want
ahead.
to read something. I just want to read something that I wrote on our website. Since the
Okay.
advent of organized religion, there has been traffic in the spiritual emancipation of humanity. The plight of the suffering has been used in the establishment of religious zealotry, which capitalizes on a person's desire to block the impact of their everyday suffering with the promise of a better life. To that end, we have witnessed the extent that people will go to fulfill their spiritual freedom from all manner of pain. Some are pushed to all limits of personal sacrifice, as the suicidal religious zealots demonstrate in many religions today. Many religions, unable to accept the fundamentals of religious live and let live, biri kan biri, pursue a system of cohesion to bring people to accept and uphold their spiritual interpretation of Chineke's will at the expense of the world's most spiritual vulnerable. In order to foster spiritual honesty, compassion, and love, Chiism propounds the right of everyone to worship Chineke the way they understand best through free will, which is a natural psychological exercise and part of human evolution. Humanity will be better served when we can experience the joy of heaven right here on earth before our spirits experience the heaven conjured up in the images described by our varied cultural interpretation when we enter the next existential plane. Free your mind.
He say.
Diversity is divine.
Yes.
That's
That's
what
it.
makes life worth living.
Thank you. Thank you. Dibias your closing remark. Thank you, Dibias Yudi. Your closing
Yeah,
remark.
I'll take it from what our great uncle said, that mythology is based on a people's culture, which is why Japan in the 13th century AD, when they saw that the Christians, missionaries they allowed into Japan were messing up the minds of the Japanese, they asked all of them to leave and asked the people to return back to the traditional religion. Those who refused were killed and thrown into the sea. Then the Tokugawa sealed up Japan. And today, Japan is spiritually unique. Now, look at the question of Jesus Christ. The Jews are his brothers. The Arab are his cousins. The Jews vehemently refused Jesus Christ the way the Greeks and the Romans sold Christ to them. And they have held onto Judaism. They are better off. Arabs have instead, they have launched their own arm of Abrahamic religion based on Arabic myth. So whereby Christianity says that there's original sin, Islam says there's no original sin. The Arabs are better off for it. So if this Jesus Christ we are talking about, if the two people who should prize him most, his brothers and his cousins, reject him, am I the African? Am I the one to carry him on my head? We should do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Monet, your closing remarks very quickly. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Just like all of the Dibias said, we have to get back to being African. We have to get, which starts with the learning the religion, learning not really the religion, the spirituality, learning the traditions. We have to know that our land that we're here is divine. We have to know that we are divine because Chineke lives inside of us. And Chineke lives in all that exists here. So we have to do away with the belief that we are evil and that the land in which we live in is evil. And we have to start there because it's doing nothing for us.
Yes.
We talk about freeing the land, free the land. You hear Black people say, free the land, freeing us, liberating African people, but we will never be liberated if we cannot identify Chineke here on earth and inside of ourselves.
Yes, guys, yeah, guys, yeah. Thank you so very much. I would like to thank the Dibias. You have been awesome today. Thank you. And definitely, I want to thank all the individuals who joined us today. Your comments have been absolutely magnificent. I'd like to thank Akachi, Zubike, DOCC, Ikuna Charles, Vicky Nettles, I beg your pardon, Jenkins, Yonmi. Let's see who else, and Zainab Ahmed, and it goes on and on and on. There's so many I can't go, but I just want to thank all of you for being here, and Akimi Bro, of course, and everyone else who's joined us on YouTube and ChiismLive on Facebook page. Thank you all so very much. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I hope that what you learned from us today in some way will change your attitude about being fearful. Yeah, guys, yeah. Failure is not an option, my brothers and sisters. We don't have time for that. All right, and so it is. Yagazienu, wherever you think.
All right.
Yes.
Yes,